Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris have landed us the secret ingredient for beating Max the Sloth.
Come here. The secret ingredient is nothing.
Huh?
And now that Lando has literally just been crowned World Drivers Champion last Sunday, the recipe feels even more real. By the way, I have no idea why this meme exists. Like, why is possibly the fastest driver ever represented by the slowest animal imaginable? I guess that's what makes it funny. But anyway, these three fine gentlemen have given us one of the most entertaining F1 seasons through their ongoing rivalry. And as people always say, it's not always about the destination, it's about the journey. And that journey began at the Australian GP. Now, this race was special because for 2 whole years, this guy Verstappen sat on the heads of every F1 driver while they could do nothing but eat his fart for lunch.
Oh, are you alright? How did...
Norris gave McLaren their first win since 2012 at the opening race. Norris's win felt as though the gods of racing had finally realized they've got a child called McLaren, and they were long overdue for a blessing.
Perhaps I treated you too harshly.
And that was quickly proven at the next race in China, where Piastri took his maiden pole and led Norris to a dominant McLaren 1-2, with Verstappen just missing out. At this point, Verstappen was sweating nervously because this was a Mickey Mouse start to an F1 season by his standards. From that moment, the stage was set for an epic rivalry which would be confirmed at the Japanese Grand Prix, when all three drivers, Piastri, Norris, and Sloth, finished on the podium for the first time in 2025. Verstappen converted pole into a commanding victory, flanked by both McLarens, and as usual, Ferrari was not in the conversation. For the next 3 races, Piastri literally let his nuts hang on Verstappen and Norris.
Oscar Piastri wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri wins the Saudi Grand Prix to beat Max Verstappen by 2.8 seconds. And the Australian driver will see the checkered flag first. Oscar Piastri wins the Miami Grand Prix. 3 Grand Prix victories in a row.
Piastri destroyed the Bahrain Grand Prix, taking a calm, controlled win to tighten the championship battle with Norris. The guy never really looked in danger, staying ahead while Norris fought his way up from 6th, carrying a 5-second penalty for a false start. Meanwhile, Red Bull's Verstappen struggled all race in his tractor, finishing 6th. The story was pretty much the same in Saudi, except Verstappen and Norris swapped places while Piastri claimed his 3rd win of the season. The Australian benefited from a 5-second penalty for Verstappen, who was fast enough to finish 2nd, while Norris had to fight from the back after a qualifying crash to finish 4th. He was closing in on Leclerc in the closing laps, but his medium tires lost their grip, and Norris couldn't make the move stick. And to round up his period of utter dominance, Piastri claimed his 4th win in 6 races at the Miami Grand Prix, beating Norris in a thrilling battle. Both McLaren drivers fought hard against early leader Verstappen as they moved up the field. Verstappen finished behind the McLarens, losing a podium spot to George Russell thanks to one of the 3 virtual safety cars. But the one-man show would come to an end in the Emilia-Romagna GP. And just because I don't want to cut my tongue off, I would be calling it Imola.
Just up the road from Llanfair to Pwllgwyngyll, go get a Quindrobos, Llantysilio, go.
Anyways, Verstappen grabbed the win, passing pole sitter Piastri around the outside of the first chicane and controlling the race from there. A late safety car brought McLaren teammates Piastri and Norris right behind Verstappen. On the restart, Verstappen broke away while Norris, on the much fresher tires, battled Piastri for 3 laps before finally taking 2nd with 5 laps to go. At this point, Norris fans were wondering if they would ever see their boy win a GP again. But their worry would end in Monaco, with Norris's first win since Australia, and Red Bull's strategy was so shifty that they ruined the entire race for Verstappen, who finished 4th. Piastri finished right in front of him. Well, that was a disaster. Speaking of disasters, the next few F1 races are what I call the era of disasters. Verstappen, while having an absolutely horrendous race at the Spain GP, kissed George Russell. Earning a 10-second penalty that dropped him from 5th to 10th.
Max, can you let Russell through, please? Let Russell through.
No, I was ahead.
My advice is to let through.
Wait, I was ahead, he just ran me off the road.
But that's the rules.
Oh, contact. Max Verstappen into the side of George Russell. We were hearing the advice not taken.
But here's the story. Verstappen initially passed Norris at the start and pressured Piastri, but his tires began to struggle, allowing Norris to close in and overtake him on lap 13 using DRS. Verstappen stopped again on lap 29, regaining third briefly, but he never regained the pace to challenge the McLarens. With 2 laps remaining, a late safety car set up chaos. Verstappen was put on hard tires, while the McLarens were on softs, leaving him lacking grip. And this led to that iconic kiss we talked about earlier. Meanwhile, Piastri led McLaren at a 1-2 with Norris in second. This made it Piastri's 5th win of the season, and at this point everyone was tired of hearing
Oscar Piastri wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri wins the Saudi Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri wins the Miami Grand Prix.
Then came disaster number 2. There was already enough tension between the 2 McLaren drivers to power a whole rom-com, and then, in the heat of the moment at the Canadian GP, Piastri dangerously kissed Norris. And as usual, here is the story. Norris, running long on hard tires from 7th, had closed in on Piastri for 4th place and attempted a pass at the hairpin with 4 laps to go. Piastri got the cutback on Norris out of the corner and held his line on the pit straight. As Norris tried to dive alongside, his front wing and wheel hit Piastri's car, breaking his suspension and forcing him to retire immediately, while Piastri continued under the safety car to finish 4th. From there, F1 took us to Austria, where Norris held off a fierce challenge from Piastri to win the Austrian Grand Prix, leading home a McLaren 1-2, his first of the season. But let's not forget disaster number 3. Verstappen was taken out on the first lap after a collision with Mercedes' Kimi Antonelli, which created a huge gap between himself and the top. And for every F1 fan, for every Verstappen fan, the season was pretty much done, cause no way he was closing that gap.
Boy, ain't no way, boy. Boy, ain't no way, boy.
And add salt to injury for the next 4 races, Piastri and Norris basically tossed first and second between each other like it was a game of tennis. Starting at the British GP, Norris won his first home Grand Prix in a swimming pool.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
He inherited the lead after teammate Piastri received a 10-second penalty for driving erratically during a restart late in the race, while Verstappen finished 5th, unable to challenge the McLarens because his tractor was built for mountain climbing and not for swimming. Next was the Belgian GP, with Piastri winning after a dramatic wet-dry race, extending his championship lead over Norris. The race had been delayed by an hour and a half for heavy rain, with 4 laps behind the safety car before the start. On the first racing lap, Piastri passed Norris at Eau Rouge and Le Combe, taking the lead and controlling the race from there. Norris ran a different type of strategy, hoping to reach the end on hard tires, while Piastri, who pitted a lap earlier for mediums, would not need a second stop. Piastri, however, managed his tires perfectly and didn't need another stop. Norris rejoined 9 seconds behind and slowly closed the gap in the final laps, but made 3 errors, allowing Piastri to maintain a 3.4 second advantage at the finish. Again, Verstappen finished 4th, unable to challenge the McLarens, and was now 81 flipping points behind Piastri in the championship.
Oh, hell no!
Back at the Hungarian GP, the ball was in Norris's court once again. He won after holding off a late charge from Piastri, cutting his championship deficit. And once again, Verstappen finished outside the podium, unable to challenge the McLarens. The Dutch GP would be the last race of this Piastri no-riz back and forth, with Piastri taking his 7th victory of the season and extending his championship lead to 34 points. Norris had been running second, pressuring Piastri after losing the place to Verstappen on the first lap following an aggressive turn 3 move. Norris reclaimed second, but retired with an oil leak 7 laps from the finish, ending what had been a strong race. Verstappen inherited second, and this was the beginning of something good.
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
Welcome to the Verstappen Show. At the Italian Grand Prix, Verstappen took a straightforward win, but McLaren stole the headlines after a messy team order situation. Piastri had been running second, but a slow pit stop for Norris left him behind. McLaren ordered Piastri to let Norris through to recover the situation. Piastri disagreed, but obeyed, and his championship lead shrank to 31 points with 8 races to go. Then came Azerbaijan, where the drama continued immediately. Piastri crashed out on lap 1, his first major mistake all season, while Norris could only fight his way to 7th, trimming Piastri's lead to 25 points. Verstappen dominated again, taking another win and reminded the paddock that he was not dead in the title fight even if he remained 69 points behind.
And as you can see, I am not dead.
The tension spilled into the Singapore Grand Prix, where Norris slid into Piastri at turn 1, leaving Piastri frustrated that McLaren didn't swap them back. A slow pit stop later cost Piastri even more time.
Oscar, back-to-back champions. Good race, tough race. Thank you for...
George Russell won the race, Verstappen finished second, and Norris fought for third after a late push. Piastri finished fourth, and his lead dropped again to 22 points, with 6 races remaining. Verstappen, now 63 behind, kept the pressure on, and McLaren still walked away with the Constructors' title on a brutally hot weekend. The momentum swung even harder in the United States Grand Prix, where Verstappen dominated from pole, controlled the race from turn 1, and claimed his 7th USGP victory. His win cut Piastri's advantage over him to 40 points with 5 races left. For McLaren, it was all about damage control. Norris spent most of the race stuck behind Charles Leclerc on a slower tire strategy, but finally got past with 5 laps to go, finishing second and cutting Piastri's lead down to just 14 points. Piastri didn't have the pace to join the front fight and finished 5th behind Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, limiting the damage but losing more ground. From that moment, Piastri's season went from bad to worse. Meanwhile, Norris did the exact opposite, crashing Verstappen the show with a mini show of his own. Norris took back the championship lead with a dominant win in Mexico, controlling the race from pole and never coming under threat. He led comfortably from turn 1 and stayed clear of the chaos and battles happening behind him. Piastri had more work to do. Starting 7th, he climbed through the field to finish 5th, preserving his title hopes. That result kept him just 1 point behind Norris in the standings. Verstappen had a solid but unspectacular afternoon. He finished 3rd, stuck behind Charles Leclerc for most of the race. Verstappen did get close enough to attack in the closing laps, but a virtual safety car with 2 laps to go froze the field and removed any chance of a late move. The show would go on to Sao Paulo GP, where Norris strengthened his title push with another dominant win, stretching his championship lead over Piastri to 24 points with just 3 races left. Piastri was handed a 10-second penalty for causing a collision, which dropped him out of podium contention. Even so, he recovered well and finished 5th, spending the final laps attacking George Russell but unable to pass. Verstappen delivered the standout performance of the day. Starting from the pit lane and then suffering an early puncture, he charged through the field to finish 3rd, ending the race right on the back of Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli. Despite the heroics, Verstappen was now 49 points behind Norris, making a late title comeback unlikely. Not until the Verstappen show returned. Las Vegas. The best possible outcome for any Verstappen fan could dream of. I'm convinced every single one of them spent the whole night praying for that result. A double disqualification for Norris and Piastri dragged Verstappen right back into the fight. Then in Qatar, McLaren followed it up with a strategy so questionable it practically handed Max the win. And then the most anticipated race of the season, Abu Dhabi. I had zero fun waiting for this race. I spent the entire week trying to explain every possible scenario for a Verstappen, Piastri, or Norris win to my friends, all of whom have absolutely no clue about F1. We all knew Verstappen would be needing crazy luck to take the championship title here, but unfortunately that luck simply didn't come. Lando had a pretty calm race from start to finish, snatching the first championship of his career. But now, let's talk about that secret recipe. Number 1, consistency. Norris didn't stack up a crazy number of wins, but he did turn up every single weekend like a man clocking into work. Consistency quietly eats away at the championship, while everyone else is trying to be a hero. Number 2, pressure. Verstappen wasn't battling one McLaren, he was up against the McLaren tag team. Every race it was Norris, Piastri, or both, forming a bright papaya wall in front, behind, or right beside him.
It's unbelievable.
They forced mistakes, pushed him into awkward strategies, and basically made sure he never had a peaceful lap. 2 drivers applying constant pressure slow even the fastest guy on the grid. Number 3, nerf Verstappen. And finally, just nerf him, bro. Give him the F1 equivalent of a tractor and pray. The fact that he still managed to close the gap this much is genuinely frightening. Remember, a nerf every race day keeps Verstappen away. If you want to see an F1 driver with 0 nerf, check out this video on your screen.